Joy, I'm so excited to be here. I am your favorite guest, Joy, with Coffee with Joy Talk Show and Podcast. I'm so excited to have my guest, Erykah, as we talk about women in podcasts. We know there are so many women out in this world that's wondering, how do you start your podcast? How did this person continue now? Is she working with a team? Is she by herself? How is she able to continue her process as she's moving forward? So after these messages, we're going to continue to talk to my guest, Erykah, as we talk about women in podcasts. Start your business on our podcast. Connect with us, the Coffee with Joy Talk Show podcast, and let's grow together. Email us. Welcome back to Coffee with Joy. So excited to have you all here. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. If there's anything, please make sure that you reach out to our website. We'd love to have you as a guest. So right now, I'm going to bring my guest, Erykah, on. So excited to have her. Hey, Erykah.
Hey guys.
How are you?
Good. I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. Now, before we jump right in, can you tell people a little bit about yourself and your podcast, and then we're going to jump right on in.
Yeah. So my name is Erykah. I am podcaster, content creator, and I do have a part-time job. I have a podcast called Take 30. So Take 30 stands for Take 30 Minutes. So 30 minutes of you, yourself, and your mental health. And we discuss topics from, burnout, basically how to manage anxiety, and I share my own personal story with social anxiety. The goal really is to break the stigma surrounding mental health, and I believe we can do that if we all start talking about everything that we're going through. So you take 30 minutes for you, your mental health and wellness. And that's basically what my podcast is about.
Oh, wow. And 30 minutes is definitely important. 30 minutes is what you need in order to succeed and be able to collaborate, get yourself back together and really take that time out. Because I think mental issues that it became like a forefront, probably around 2020, even though it was there before, but I think it became more prevalent now, where mental illness, where people really started to take heed. The mind is something serious, and your mind could really play tricks on you unknowingly, right? So in doing this, how did you start? What made you start doing Take 30 podcasts? And you stated, you had anxiety along that route, but how did your anxiety became your podcast and continue to be your drive?
Yeah, so about almost 3 years ago, I sought therapy for the very first time. And I decided, there's got to be somebody going through it, not only me, but somebody else out there. But I decided that, as I now continue my therapy journey, that I think it was so important to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. And I said, maybe if I share my voice, maybe somebody else out there is going through the same thing. So that's how Take 30 started. So I sought therapy in March of 2022. And then I started the podcast in April. So a month later. And that's when I really wanted to start having that conversation with people. So I shared my personal struggle with social anxiety. I struggled with social anxiety since the age of 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And I felt like this was a time to really share what I'm going through, and maybe somebody who is going through the same thing, they may be able to relate to my own story. Yeah. And so how I kind of got into podcasting, I actually started recording podcast episodes back in 2021. So I never, there are some unreleased episodes. So, and I said, okay, let me try to record a couple episodes and see where it goes. And then I continued that for a while, never released anything until February 2022 is when I put out the Take 30 trailer. Just basically stating what I will be talking about on the show and what topics, you'll hear from me personally. When it came to posting season 1, episode 1, I was a little bit nervous because I'm like, oh my God, is people going to like it? Is people going to listen in? Is people going to hear what I have to say? And the internet. It's it can be, it's good and it's bad, my opinion. My dad was the one that told me, listen, if you don't put the first episode out there now, when are you going to do it? So basically, if not now, then when?
Okay.
So, and he told me that your first episode of the podcast is not going to be perfect. So you just have to put yourself out there, and here I am 3 years later.
Oh, wow. Awesome. So you 3 years when? January or?
Well, it will be in April. I'll be 3 years.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I just hit my 3-year mark. So that's awesome. Congratulations. Yes. Because I know to one that may say like, oh, okay, it's just 3 years, but 3 years, people need to understand it was a fight to get to the 3 years,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when they fight, meaning that there's no blueprint. Even though some people are trying to write a blueprint for podcasts, there's no blueprint. There's no way you take this way direction. No, it is however you see fit. However you want to do it. You can do it in your bed with the mic. You can lay down and talk. You're going to find somebody there who's going to enjoy you. So being 3 years is truly a badge of honor because it's hard, like you stated, putting out that first conversation. Would someone really like it? Would someone really go for it? And it's really, I sound good. I like what I look like, but would the information go forward as I think it should, and not backfire? So definitely presenting yourself and putting yourself out there is always very finicky. And that's daily with a podcaster. That's daily. Just because you're doing good for 3 years, you pray there's nothing else that would stumble you and hurt you along those conversations, because words have power and they could come back and bite you, So I think Take Two is awesome to know that you're able to really recognize and just take a pause, because we're such in a fast society where we got to get it done. It was said back then, microwave. I call it the air fryer. Everything is the air fryer. We want it done quick. So now that you put these episodes out there, what has been your best episode as well as your most challenging episode?
Ooh, my best episode. Okay, so there's a couple.
Okay.
So I did with season 3, episode 1. That's the one that I talk with a podcaster of mine. I like to call it my podcast bestie. His name is Zaya. He's the host of the Zaya show. Shout out to him. We talked basically about imposter syndrome after college, finding our first job in a job market where we're competing against so many different people. And then another one that I did was with can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she has a documentary called Arise Firebird. And we talked about her documentary, and she really shines the light on workplace trauma. And I think my most challenging episode would probably be the one that I talked about social anxiety. So, and my own experience. I think I recorded that episode at least 4 times before I put it out. Yeah.
Wow. So now, do you find it more easy to do your podcast by yourself or have a guest, or a mixture?
I think a mixture of both. So like, depending on the topic that I'm talking about, if it's like me sharing my personal experience or something that happened, then I'll do an episode alone. But if like I research something and, I'm bringing on a guest, I think I would probably be like, okay, this is the episode that we can talk about. So I find that podcasting on a whole has allowed me to grow as a person. It allowed me to, and it allowed me to also meet people from different walks of life, different people in different states, different people in different countries. And so that's one of the things that, I've loved about podcasting.
No, I totally agree. I make sure both. Um, Having both, you're able to really be able to sound, have a great speaking voice, and really for you to pivot, just in case if you're able to have a speaking engagement and meeting people, you get to share so much stuff that you may never able to see or be able to hear about, So I definitely engaging in with guests is like the best, you know. So is there anything like if somebody were to say, hey, Erykah, like how do you like what do you use to even do your podcast? Any like 3 items that you use that you would suggest to someone who's new to podcasting and who's probably saying, I don't have a whole lot of money and I don't want to. So what do I need in order to start like today in the next 30 days? What items do I need in order to start my podcast in the next week? Let me say week, not 30 days.
Next week. Well, for somebody who doesn't have a lot of money, I would say a good microphone. So this one over here, this one is called the J Lab. And I bought this for only $50 at Best Buy. They have other microphones, the Yeti, that a lot of creators use and podcasters use whenever they're doing their content. But really, you need a computer, a microphone, and just any kind of a recording software. So like StreamYard, the free version you could use, or Riverside, or you can even just record it on your cell phone and put it out there. When I started, you don't even have to do if let's say anybody's maybe doesn't like to be like to show their face. Maybe you can do it without video. So you don't have to bring on video if that's not something you feel comfortable with right now. When I started, it was just audio. And now I've kind of transitioned into more video form because I do notice that my audience, they like video podcasts, right? So it's really what suits you, you know what I mean? Like it's really whatever you like, whatever floats your boat. You can just record it off your phone, or you can record it just with a microphone. And if you have a audio recording thing on app on your phone, you can use that as well.
So many options that you really don't even have to touch the bank.
Right, exactly.
So many options, especially if you paid a whole lot of money for the phone. Exactly. I am a believer of that. You don't need anything. They put a lot of money they put a lot of devices into your phone for you to be able to, you paid a lot of money. If you have an update, anything with 13 plus, you have your phone. So that's the thing about it, So right after these messages, we're going to continue to talk to my guest, Erykah, how does she network? How does she go about making that community? Because we know as podcasters, it's very hard just being in this industry alone if you do not cultivate a community or people who really can help you along the way. So after these messages, we're going to continue to talk to my guest, Erykah. And please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. So we will be right back. Hit the PayPal QR code, and so that you can find out more about these Q sets and so much more. Let's get to it. Welcome to Coffee with Joy. So excited to have you all here. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. We're going to return to my guest, Erykah. Hey, Erykah, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So before we left on break, we talked about just the items of having the things that you need, right? And we know the phone, definitely you can start, Now, what would be another advice if somebody wants to start their podcast? What should they talk about? What are some ideas that you would share? Because I think a lot of people think, oh, I could become a podcaster. That's easy. That's real easy. But not knowing that you may have the gift of gab, but you really don't have a conversation. You really don't set yourself up. So what should a person do before they even get on the mic if they're going to start this podcasting?
So my advice for anybody who wants to start a podcast, and maybe you just don't know what you want to talk about, I would suggest find topics that interest you. You can, for example, like you see a lot of true crime podcasts, right? if that is something you're interested in, find like different true crime topics that you want to talk about. So, and then start from there, start drafting, okay, this is what I want to talk about. This is what episode 1 is going to be about. And okay, now we can go on to record the first episode. So you really have to find what topics you enjoy, what topics interest you. And you can just write down 5 topics that interest you. And you can pick one of those 5 topics. And then if that topic interests you, another thing I would suggest, listen to other podcasts that talk about those things. And you can kind of bounce off ideas of how you want to spin it into your own. And then I would record the first episode. And I know it's not the easy. It's easier said than done, right? Hitting that record button. I mean, I know, because when I first started out, I was so nervous to just hit record. However, you just have to do it, and you got to push that button and do it. So just hit record and just talk. If you are somebody who wants to have like a little script, you can just have a script with like all your talking points, and kind of bounce and kind of talk and kind of go from there. And that's how basically you start creating your first episode of the podcast.
Correct. We're not gurus, but we're people in the trenches. We're working, we're doing it, and it's working for us. So we really want to showcase that podcasting is not easy, but it's not hard. It's really, you don't eat a whole plate of food with one bite. You have to be able to eat and really understand, okay, sometimes when you eat, I'm gonna tackle my meat and vegetables, or I'm just gonna tackle my vegetables, or I'm gonna do my rice. However you feel, you don't say, okay, I'm gonna just get a scoop and put it in my mouth. So you strategize on what you're going to eat next. So it has to be the same way. You have to strategize what is most important to you right now and how to go about that. And, even with yourself, Erykah, with your topics, how do you line your topics up so that they're probably coincide, or, for your community to understand, okay, what is it how are you setting yourself up? How do you set your topics up?
That's a good question. Actually, that's a great question. So what I do is, whenever I'm setting my topics up, I usually will have like my computer out with like my Word document of like all the things I want to talk about and what we're going to focus on this week. And then I love AI. It's a great tool.
Yeah.
I've been using that to help me like with different episode ideas. And then that's kind of how I say, okay, this week's episode, we're going to be diving into this. And I kind of base it off of like what my talking points, and kind of go from there. And then that's when I hit record. Yeah. And I love AI. AI is a really great tool. Obviously, if it's used properly, you understand what I mean? Like, but it's great, in my opinion. It's a great resource to have. And so that's kind of what helps me when it comes to podcasting and talking about topics. Is like, I have an idea, and then sometimes I'll use ChatGPT or AI to kind of give me ideas of what talking points I need for that particular episode.
And that's totally great, because people need to understand AI, various AIs. There's so many AIs out there now. And just as you talk about AIs, like, what are your 3 favorite apps that you use to help run Take 30?
Oh, 3 favorite apps?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I like StreamYard. StreamYard definitely allows me, whenever I post episodes, right, I edit, and then I can just distribute it to all the platforms.
Yeah.
And another thing I like to use is Canva. Canva, I do. That's where I do my content. All of my posts on Instagram, they come from Canva. Um, and then I also, let's see. Oh, and I like to use ChatGPT or and it's called Google. It's called Gemini now. Yeah, and those are like my tools that I use.
Okay. Because, you know, there's so many tools out there to really expedite the show, expedite our viewing. But, you know, of course, we can't use all of them. We'll be running raggedy. We will
Yeah.
be out of our mind, and we need to probably just talk about it on take 30, you know, because we need to take 30 minutes and really get our thoughts together.
Yeah.
But there's like three. I say three only because, you know, we can at least manage those three and be able to help. I'm not saying, hey, don't try not to use your apps. Apps are there for a reason because nowadays, of course, they charging, but you want to make sure what's beneficial for you. And I know that being a podcaster, those items are very important and very useful if you whatever one you use is very useful for you. And like you stated, I use StreamYard, I use InShot, CamCut, as well as Canva. Canva is like my ride or die. You know, that's my best friend. Now that, you know, it is unlocking so many great things, you know. So I am totally a fan of Canva, and I love Canva. Of course, there's other things that I can use, but I'm learning Canva until I really get that hang of it. It's going to be my best friend, going to be my Siamese twin next to me constantly, always. So now, doing this podcast, now that you're here to 3 years, what is your goal for the future in the next 3 years?
Then, I would love to do some events like maybe like a Take 30 happy hour, like in my hometown or something along the lines there. So that's basically what's next for the podcast. Like love to get everybody that's within my community together and just chat and talk about our businesses, our podcasts. So that's kind of where I'm leaning more towards, like getting the community together and just and do like a happy hour, take 30 happy hour or something along the lines there.
Oh, that's tremendous because, you know, having community is definitely plus. And knowing people in person is even greater because it's more of a buy-in when I get to know this person or see the person and see the individual in person, you know, and really get to know their style. Because again, a lot of people hide behind the camera or social media and they're not really who they say they are. But to meet somebody in person and really say who they are, really cultivate a new friend, you cultivate the community and people really entrusting you. So that's a good thing, you know, and like you say, the happy hour is good. We don't have to have like mega events. You can have 10, 15 people come, get to know who you are. Now that becomes a segment, you know, that becomes content to put on the podcast as a meet and greet. So I think that's just great. That is awesome because I did my second event with Coffee with Joy, Women in Podcast, actually in person, where I had other podcasters who live within the area and share their tidbits. Because again, people would like to know. Yeah, they could research, but we know people who set up and have their whole YouTube immaculate. People really want the nitty gritty. People time is short, you know. So just be able to share, knowing that Erykah is in the trenches working and still utilizing it is always great to know that, okay, she's just 3 years in and she's still learning, you know, somewhat a relationship. People can mix because even I'm 3 years in, you know, I made my 3 years January. So 3 years in, and I just thank God, like, wow, I'm still here, you know, because I counted on him completely. As we close the show, Erykah, what is something that keeps you going? Like an affirmation, a prayer, a scripture? What keeps Erykah going?
So definitely meditation keeps me going. I love a good meditation. One affirmation that I love to say is there's a couple, but one of them is, you know, I am unique in my own way. I love myself just the way I am. So like all those affirmations allow me to, definitely have confidence, and really that gives me the motivation to just keep going.
Yeah. That's amazing. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for saying yes to being on Coffee with Joy. So excited to have you. Thank you. So please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. And if you have any questions for Erykah, please do put them below. Her information will be in the description box. It's so exciting to always have a great podcaster and just to be able to share some good tidbits and hear what they're doing, because it's not to compare, but to know that you're not in this field of greatness of what you're doing alone. There's somebody you can turn to. And if you'd like to patronize our company, please make sure that you follow our QR codes that's located on our screen. For any amount will help. And we thank you all so much. Again, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. For if it is the weekday or weekend, it is Coffee with Joy. Until then, you all live life on purpose. See you all soon.